Alright, we're back for the Thanksgiving special. Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
Alright, today we're going to make some homemade bread. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay tuned. Alright, these are our ingredients so far. So we got flour, oil, sugar, yeast, and salt. I assume we're going to mix all these together.
First step, 2 cups of warm water.
Okay. Alright, 2 cups of warm water.
2 cups of warm water. And to the warm water you're going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Now why do we have to have warm water?
Because that's now what's going to make the yeast proof. And it's like magic when you see yeast proof. It's like a science experiment when you watch the yeast.
Alright, so we're adding the yeast to the water.
Well, I'm going to measure this out, yes. You're going to see. And I forgot what the measurement is. We have to add 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. I use the active yeast. I don't use the quick rising yeast. I don't know if it makes a difference, but this is what the recipe says, and I always follow the recipe. So now 1.5 tablespoons of yeast. Usually 1 packet just about makes 1 tablespoon. That's the yeast proofing. You gotta let that sit for 5 minutes.
5 minutes later.
Yum. Alright, what's our next step?
Now we're going to take the mixture, pour it into a bowl.
1/2 cup of sugar.
So 1/2 cup of sugar minus that tablespoon you added to the proofing yeast. Then you're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt.
Alright, do the sugar, Ma.
And then you add it into the water and the yeast.
Ma, one at a time.
1.5 teaspoons
1.5 teaspoons of salt.
of salt to the mixture of sugar and yeast. Okay, 1 teaspoon. One teaspoon.
It's not an exact science.
It's pretty good. And here comes 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. There you go.
Alright, 1.5 teaspoons. 1/4 cup of oil.
And now you mix this all together. And now we're going to add approximately 6 cups of flour. But you add them in increments of 2 cups at a time, because we don't want to make our dough too dry. The sides and try to get it all. First 2 cups usually absorb most of the liquid.
That's how you build those big forearms.
Now we're going to slowly add, in slow increments, cup number 5.
Alright, so this is our 5th cup. And the dough's getting pretty dry.
We want it to be a sticky dough. We don't want it sticking to your hands, but you don't want it super dry either.
Alright, so now we're adding our 6 cup of flour slowly. Make sure you take off your rings because you got to dive in there with your hands now. So I guess that's the consistency you want.
You can pick it up. No problem. Okay, the next step is we're going to now oil the side of the dish. with the vegetable oil. Make sure you coat it generously. Whoopsie.
A little too generous.
And then you're going to flip the dough that it gets coated with the oil. Last step, dampen a towel and place it over your dough. And now you're going to let your dough rest for 1 hour and it will rise.
See you in 1 hour.
1 hour later.
Alright, it's been 1 hour. And you can see our dough has risen quite a bit. Wow. That looks good. Next step. We're going to beat this dough down. Beat it. We're going to get demonetized, Ma. That looks not for kids. Why did we beat the dough?
I don't know.
Oh.
1 minute. We have to beat it.
Now we're going to use our vegan butter and butter the baking pans. Because we don't want this dough sticking.
Grease it well. And just put a little flour on it. There you go. That way it's easy to handle. Now you try to even it out, sort of. Now you're going to take a knife. And we're going to try to evenly divide the dough into the 2 pans. Punch it in.
Doing a lot of punching today.
Good way to take out your frustrations.
What's Thanksgiving without a little punching?
Now we're going to let it rest once again for a half an hour. Cover it, let it rest, and then it goes in the oven in a half an hour.
Bake. 350. Start. Alright, now what do we do?
Okay, we now uncover our dough, and you can see each bread has risen.
Very nice.
And now they go in the oven and bake for about 30 minutes. So they're nice and brown.
Alright, it's been 30 minutes. It looks like it could use a little more.
Especially since it wasn't preheated. My opinion.
I think we're done. I think I burned it. Well, the first time I bake it, I burn it. Oh well. The bottom still looks good. So we're just gonna scrape it. Oh well. Alright. Thanksgiving's over. Hopefully everybody had a good one. Got the leftovers. Can you eat those? God. Got a lot of good stuff. Burnt bread. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.